The Black Dog Salvage Podcast is brought to everyone by Mountain Khakis. And I couldn't be more stoked that they're with us because they're my favorite clothing company of all time.
That's huge.
Huge.
I mean,
and so am I. I'm 6'7", and they fit so good. They're stretchy.
They're not only with us, they're on us.
Whoa.
Damn. Nice.
Think about that.
They are. I have been.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth.
I'm in them.
I'm in them now. Hey guys, it's a good product. We love working with them. Mountain Khaki.
They're the best.
I'm going to be a little late for dinner. It was plague day at work.
Bring your plague to work day.
Yeah.
Hit us with it.
All right. Hey, I'm Mike Whiteside.
I'm Robert Kulp.
And I'm Tay Whiteside.
And welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast.
We're doing it again, fellas. This is the podcast where every week we talk to the most interesting people we can find from the salvage maker and creator world. We give you a tip of the week on, salvage, upcycling, help you turn your trash into treasure. And finally, every week, we'll give you some behind-the-scenes looks from one of the episodes from our hit TV show, emphasis on hit TV show, Salvage Dawgs.
I like that.
Robert, what do we got going on?
Yeah,
this week?
on today's episode, we're lucky to have Rutledge Wood.
Ooh.
Car guy, gearhead, storyteller, automotive and racing analyst.
Is that all?
No, he's a TV personality, and he's currently on an epic road trip. Race car driver Ryan Eversley, sponsored by Continental Tire, cruising the continental U.S. road trip.
You guys doing any offshore on that?
Not yet. That was a really nice. Thank you. That was a really nice lead in.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not finished.
Oh.
Then Rutledge is going to help us with our DIY top tip, where we talk expertise that you can use at home. Finally, we're going to give you some behind the scenes from our show, Salvage Dawgs. Today, it's all about episode 1106. We're nearing the end of all episodes. New Jersey, the G Mansion.
Oh.
G Factor.
All right. So just after the break, Rutledge Wood.
It's like they knew what they were doing.
So, all right, Keen utility. There's a problem with most work footwear where it either looks weird or it's uncomfortable because it's safety. That composite toe or the steel toe, it just looks like a clown shoe.
Frankenstein shoe comes to mind.
Frankenfoot. Yeah. Avoid Frankenfoot. Keen avoids those problems. Keen avoids those weird, awkward problems somehow because their composite toe and steel toe workwear, it looks like a normal shoe or boot, and it's comfortable, and the composite stuff's lightweight. Men and women both have a full selection of Keen utility workwear. I mean, what more is there to say?
I'm not limping.
Great. Yeah. Keen. Robert's not limping.
Keen footwear, guys.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. Today we are talking with Rutledge Wood, a guy who I'm lucky enough to call a dear friend now.
Thanks, brother.
Hanging out. You've been, NASCAR guy, Netflix guy, huge car guy, car nerd. I think that's why we originally bonded.
Absolutely.
Part of it. And somehow a huge fan of our show, Salvage Dawgs.
Yes.
Rutledge, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I do think I've seen every show, all 143 of
You
them.
said twice.
I think so.
Yeah.
Every time there was a marathon on, I just want you guys to know I was not moving.
It's good for what ails you. I tell people, take 2 aspirin in 3 episodes and it'll cure it.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I thought it might be that twitch you've got.
Well, there's that too. I remember it was a couple years ago. There was one that was from like season 3 that I had not seen, and I flipped out. I was like, "What? How did I miss this?
They're making new ones?
What? This is crazy." But man, I showed up to the shop one day. I was in Martinsville for the race. I was up here with my buddy Joey Logano, and I came in. I asked if anybody was here, and they're like, "Sure, see Mike." And then you were downstairs working, and I was just so over the top enamored with the whole thing. But to get to see this up close is so special. Thanks for having me for this too. What a treat!
Yeah, man, it's good to have you.
We had that funny moment because I was down in the shop, and I'm obviously a huge fan of Top Gear, not obviously the British one, but you were on the American version of Top Gear, which I also love. It's a hard show to big shoes to fill, by the way, the Top Gear, the biggest maybe in automotive television. And so I was already a fan of yours, and I walk out of the wood shop just around where I've been, for 15 years. This is the second home. And I see you, and you go, "Are you Tay from the show?" And I'm like, "Are you Rutledge Wood from Top Gear?" And this isn't happening.
That's a real reality moment.
There's no way that guy is a fan of ours and mine.
Yeah.
But
crazy.
It's funny though, because now that we're buds, it's like it shatters that wall. It's like, because people think, they would tell us, you were in my living room last night. And we were like, I assure you, I was not.
I told them, and they say that, and we went to sleep. I said, I'd have called the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being on the screen, right? Like there's something that elevates the personality, and you're like, they're just real people.
It's a weird thing when you can find something that you love to do and you're passionate about, and then somehow you can do it in this way that millions of people around the world will see it. It's really unique and it's really special. And sometimes people can latch onto the things that are really great about it. There's a lot more things about this line of work that are far more difficult than people see and realize. But like when you came to see me, we were on the Kyle Petty charity motorcycle ride across the country. All my friends were like, oh my gosh, Salvage Dawgs, Tay's here. I was like, yeah, this is my friend Tay. And
crazy to me.
It's a fun world, but y'all know too that sometimes people say real weird stuff, and you're like,
they can get a little familiar.
Mike, we really love you.
Yeah, I know. I had a lady latch on to me one day and just got up. I mean, I'm tall, and she was right up under my arm and wouldn't let go.
Yeah,
and I was going like, I need somebody to help me here. Who owns her?
Yeah,
and her husband came up and said, honey, I told you about this.
Yeah. Just ease up.
Yeah, he's a real guy.
But that was her year made.
Yeah,
that's great. But the familiarity is I mean, it can be good and bad, but it's always a mystery to me when people say hello to me, because I already have a problem remembering people and their names.
Absolutely.
And so around the store for years, it would be like, hey, Robert, how you doing? And I'm like going, oh no, is this a know me from the show or know me and I'm supposed to know you?
Which is, so if the easiest way I've tried to explain that, it's like we have this mental Rolodex. And when someone says, hey, Robert, you start flipping and you're like, okay, do I know them from work? Is this church?
Yeah.
Do I go to the same restaurant?
Do I owe them money?
Yes. And the difficult thing is when you're on TV, you realize, you know what? I've just got to put that Rolodex over here. And now every person you meet, it's like meeting them for the first time. But it makes it harder to remember people sometimes too.
And you dance around a little bit while you're just trying to run through that Rolodex, and then you're just like, well, okay, and then you just give up. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
hey,
right, just jump in. I met you 3 years ago. Remember?
And so the weird thing is sometimes you absolutely do. You're like, yes, I was having a ham sandwich on the back of my truck.
I was going to
say hello.
It's always tied to some obscure detail. Like,
yes,
I was the guy. Remember, I dropped something on your foot 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh, you.
I do remember you.
Yeah. Well, for the uninitiated who may not have heard of you, Rutledge, I think if you're a car guy, it's safe to say that they've probably seen some of your work. But how did it all start for you in television?
Well,
and hosting?
Tay, when two people find that special spark in their eye, as my parents did. No, I always knew.
And then 20 years after that.
Then one day I was like, hey, I should try to make people laugh professionally. I at some point was like, I think I want to be on TV. I want to try to make this happen. Went to school for marketing at the University of Georgia, but I kept getting closer and closer to trying to figure out how to do that. I wanted to do it from Atlanta. I didn't want to have to move to LA and like wait tables. I'm not that talented, so I was going to wait tables a long time if I did that.
Yeah.
So ended up working for the Speed Channel, found that through like a Craigslist ad. I'd always like kind of just made friends and tried to figure out how to keep moving up. The opportunity for Top Gear came because someone had loaded onto YouTube illegally this thing that I did with John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard, and I refused to call him John. I only spoke to him as Bo Duke, and I spent the entirety questioning the nature of the relationship between him and Daisy.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, "She's not your first cousin, right?" And he's like, well, no, it's an actress, Catherine Fox. Like, no, I'm talking about Daisy though. But like, do you guys ever go to dinner?
Yeah.
Or see a movie?
Oh, they want that.
Absolutely. So this race fan loads that clip onto YouTube illegally, and this guy who's producing Top Gear is watching everybody who's been on TV for cars for like the last 10 years, sees this and was like, this guy might be funny. So even like the whole time I was doing that, like they called and said, hey, we want you to come out to this thing. And I hung up on the person because I thought it was a friend prank calling me because they were from the Central Booking Agency. And I was like, y'all got to come up with a better name. I prank call people. That's a bad name.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you kind of fast forward all these different years. I got to do some cooking shows. I did the show Southern and Hungry.
Nice.
That was interesting after Top Gear because all of the wives who had to sit through Top Gear with their husbands were like, well, now you can watch because that car guy you like, now he's doing this cooking show. And that was like a get fat for the summer plan both seasons. I gained like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Because you try all this amazing food.
That's right.
You don't want to say no. But then getting to
it's
do
rude, in fact.
It
to
is.
say no.
It is. Getting to do the stuff for Netflix has been fun. We did Hyperdrive, which is like a show that's made for you
Huge
and I.
fan. Yeah, exactly.
It's like Top Gear meets a video game, and it was all these people in their own cars doing these insane tracks.
It was like American Ninja Warrior kind of.
That's a perfect
like
way to put it.
Obstacle course and
But in your
challenges.
car.
Yeah.
And then through that, we did American Barbecue Showdown. I might get to do some more of that. We'll see. But also Floor is Lava. And Floor is Lava took off in this way that I don't think any of us ever expected. We got 37 million viewers in the first month.
Holy hell.
So it came out during the pandemic, and I was so appreciative that it did because all these people were home. And I never made something that we focus so much on making a show where they called it co-viewing. So you and your kids could watch together. And I was like, well, what's the line? Like, where
Where is it? Yeah. And what can you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if this is a family show,
Absolutely. And I got 3 daughters. I'm dad joke friendly. I can't get enough. And their line was like, well, the planet is pronounced Uranus. And I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So there's the line. Like, all right. So, but that's been crazy because overnight, all of my daughter's friends knew me as a guy from Floor is Lava. So that's been really fun too, because again, that same trickle down is the people that watch me on Top Gear or whatever can be like, oh, this guy's fun. So it's just it's been weird.
Well, it's kind of fun to see that what you've done and what you do in a scripted or unscripted show touches people.
Sure.
They get familiar with you. And you were saying, it's co-coupling or co-watching.
Co-viewing, yeah.
We easy now. Easy.
Well, we just got so romantic.
Yeah. But, we're bringing couples together, because I'm watching football and racing or I'm watching the Food Channel. So they're in separate rooms.
Yeah.
We bring generations together, from the little ones. We've had, 5-year-old fans come in. And matter of fact, one of them was Robert. He did a little video. Remember that one?
Yep.
Where he was Robert and the tools and stuff, and he was yelling at people.
Cool.
Oh, the kid acting like you.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool and y'all know, it's to see what you guys did with Salvage Dawgs was so impressive to me because you did this great thing where you always were telling people, you were bringing them into history and bringing them into understanding how this works. And a lot of times you really can't tell how something is built until you're trying to tear it down. And especially, without breaking it, which I know, Mike, sometimes is difficult for a lot of people.
Thanks.
Say that again.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to know, my favorite was when Robert would break something. There's nothing that would make me giggle more. Was it the fountain? The fountain at that house.
I'm sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like, I know the show was only 30 minutes, but it seemed like you had been working on this fountain for days.
This was that marble fountain that you and Grayson were.
Yeah, in Philadelphia. It was the Philadelphia
beautiful.
mansion. It's just, that's a repeating scenario is me working on something for a really long time.
Right.
With very tiny tools.
Yes, tiny.
Methodical.
And everybody's running around him, doing everything else. The whole house is done. He's still on this
Robert,
thing.
you good? Passing through. You all right? All right.
Yeah, got it.
Can we help you? No.
Yeah. Following up on what we were talking about is combination, and what I've seen of all your work is the combination of humor and expertise. And it's one of the things that we tried to keep in the show as much as possible for us is because it's the way most people actually, when they work or try to survive work and doing things, that's the way the work life should be, is having a little bit of fun and getting along with your compatriots and also, getting the job done. And when you see that on TV, it becomes, hey, you can appeal to a much wider audience if it's not just this driven thing all the time, or it's hey, we're talking about racing. We're talking about racing.
Right.
Give me something else, and I'm gonna find out about racing, even if I don't know anything about it, because I'm hearing the humor and the human side of whatever everybody's talking.
Curiosity is such a big part of that, and I think that's something that you guys did too. If you know what it is, y'all would always say, "Oh, this is X, Y, and Z." But there were other times where you would look at something and go, "I have no idea what this is. My guess tells me they could have used it for this, or they could have used it for that," and then you can almost come to this understanding of like, "Oh, well, this totally makes sense."
It's like a process of elimination.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't have been used for that.
Well, and the cool part about that is the show puts it out there, and somebody out there is going to school you on what that is.
Oh, no question.
And we've had some pretty funny ones.
Yeah, we've been corrected on it.
Oh my gosh. It's kind of like the first, if you've ever played an instrument, you hear someone that makes you go, I shouldn't even own this. I shouldn't own a drum set. I should just stop.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone somewhere that knows more about a thing than you do. But part of that adventure, I think that curiosity is saying like, okay, well, what is this? I wonder what it was used for and how can we reuse it? I think that curiosity, and I think I try to lead with that. I'll go anywhere and talk to anybody about anything.
Well,
sometimes I know something.
That's proven here, isn't it?
Well, before we get on to more stuff, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Rutledge Wood.
Really nicely done.
Thank you. Fellas, welding has been a part of our lives for a long time.
Your life?
For sure.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I do now full time.
You grew up with it. I didn't. Although I gave you all my knowledge.
You helped me grow up with it.
You
And I thank you to this day.
You're welcome.
All those sparks scare me.
Yeah. You know what doesn't scare me? Miller welders. You know why? Because they work. They're dependable.
Yeah.
They're smooth. You can get parts for them.
They're blue, too.
They answer the phone when you call them, and then they're blue.
And they're blue.
And
These welders have a phone that they answer.
Yeah, they're getting fancy.
That's right.
Technical stuff.
Is that a refrigerator on board?
But I love Miller. I've always loved Miller welders. And people ask me actually quite often how to get into welding or where to start. And I would say, above all, it's better to buy a used Miller than to buy a new import welder.
Oh, yeah.
They're just the best, man. Whether you're a beginner or a pro.
Miller welders.
What else do you want to talk about, Rob?
Tell us about your mustache wax.
It's called chicken. Some chicken last night. It was a little oily.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. We are sitting down with the one and only Rutledge Wood, car guy, Netflix guy, NASCAR guy, and upcycler, as I understand. But
yeah.
Before we were talking about curiosity, and I suppose it can kill the cat, as I hear. But it's imperative, I think, part of what people liked about our show was that they could learn with us.
Yes.
You know, as you said, we may not have known what we were telling people this is. But we would admit to that, well, what is this? And a lot of us would just go to Robert and
What
say,
the hell is that? What the hell
he was
is
our
that?
Robert was our Google.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've seen it before, sometimes you've seen something like that before. But the variety of where you guys would go and the adventures you take people on, it could be an old house, it could be an old apple orchard, but also some of the factory stuff was some of my favorites because you just saw such different things. The boat shows, when you guys would go to Norfolk, it's crazy because it would be so difficult as a viewer to watch and think I just had to put all my tools in this bucket and hopefully the guy doesn't sneeze while he's moving them over there. It's thousands of dollars worth of all this stuff. But there's just so many cool adventures I think that y'all took people on. That you really, to educate and entertain the way that y'all did was just, there's nothing like it.
And they identified with us. We had Grayson, who was just effervescent and
Absolutely.
bubbly and fun and always had a good thing to say about anything. And then we had Tay, who was curiosity, and he's, father, son, yeah, dad, Robert, who, was
crotchety over here.
Yeah, Robert was the soundboard, the rock that, okay, if when all goes bad, get Robert in here. He'll get us back on track.
He would try to keep,
or at least tell us what we're doing wrong, which was one of his specialties.
Right.
And then we had Ted, who was the comic relief, hard worker,
very funny,
the guy with the hair.
Right.
Oh, he had beautiful hair.
I think he's patented that hair, and he's made a hard hat model out of it.
It was his hard hat.
Yeah.
His hair.
Yeah.
He didn't need
a little bit of everybody out there could identify with their character or something about them.
Right.
And most of them identified with, it was usually somebody will come into the store and they'll come in and go, oh, my husband, he's like Mike.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I got to go around like this all the time trying to, think. But as in, you get things done. That's what they say.
You're a dashing old man.
I mean, to me, it was like watching a really good band. Everybody had their different kinds of things. So sometimes you might have seen more like the stickler, but turns out you were just really working on some really important notes over there. Mike's up front hitting the keyboards. There were so many, everybody played a different part. Grayson is as wonderful and charming as a human being in person as she is on the show.
Truly.
And I was so lucky to get to meet her at the warehouse and she's like, if you could bottle sunshine, that's basically who she is. But Ted had that funny thing to me watching where he kind of had that vibe of I came to the band after they fired the first guitarist. I just want to make sure the ride home's not awkward. But he didn't I just liked that he kind of always seemed pretty decent at most things, but was not an expert on anything besides just having a good time. I think I just enjoyed his vibe on that sort of way. But then I also, we've talked about, there were so many times you'd be running a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Because you had gotten enough certifications and had spent enough time on these things to be able to run them and make sure that it's okay. But here's your dad at 60 years old on the roof removing these heavy ass tiles.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, man, there's a lot more pressure on you than anyone at home could possibly imagine.
Well, I'm heavily insured.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody I'm worth more on the hoof than I am.
I just want you to know, I've heard that before. No one else enjoys that joke. Okay, the rest of your family hates that joke, especially your son who's running the controls at the time.
Well,
it's snowing, by the way.
Yeah,
and I'm stuck, so the lift is going to stay here for the rest of the job.
Yes.
We're going to get everything on this corner.
Yeah,
but it was like my other issue with that exact scenario, and genuinely was that I always felt guilty. I always felt like it should have been the other way around.
You know, and I wish it was.
Yeah.
Especially on those snowy days.
Here's my dad who wants to retire in a bit, and he's harvesting heavy ass terracotta roofing tiles,
which were great.
One by one, and I'm sitting here in a. It may have been heated. It may have been.
It didn't matter. You were out of the element.
I'm not going to. May have had a radio.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to.
And safety was an issue.
Sure.
And Tay had a better hand. He's played enough video games.
That's what it was.
That's all this is a video game. It's, input, output. And I didn't have that skill. I mean, I had it, but it wasn't quite as finite. So
the controls were a little more on or off.
Yeah, the on/off switch. That's what Robert would say.
Yeah, that's exactly
There's an
right.
in-between.
The old Navy on/off switch.
Would there have been like a camera person up in the bucket with you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Or GoPro. We had Gary.
Gary.
Gary was our main cameraman, and he would, Mike, where are you going? I'm going to go up for about 130 feet. And I says, can I go? I said, sure. Get your gear on. That was safety too.
Sure.
We finally started to become compliant.
Well, back to you saying people writing you and people ending up in your email inbox saying, well, I've worked for OSHA for 35 years and I would never do that.
I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
I got a message on my phone the other day. Somebody letting me know that he was ready to come up here and teach me all about lead paint. I swear. And I mean, I do appreciate it. But I mean, I know all about it, but you got to make some TV sometimes.
Right.
It's the reality of the situation is that it doesn't look that great with a mask on when you're talking to the camera or trying to do some work.
And there were times, for the record, that y'all walked in and you're like, well, there's more asbestos in this room
word
than any. You know what? We're going to put on a mask for this.
Yeah, I'm not sure I expressed that in completely the whole word, maybe with the leading letter. That's
right.
Is that.
A little bit ab.
But, we talked a lot about Salvage Dawgs, but we got Rutledge Wood here.
That's right.
Super fan of your show.
I'm thinking about this car collection that you've got, which I think is one of the most interesting things because they're not all, I mean, a lot of them look like perfection to me, but they're different.
Sweet.
They're wild. They're eclectic. And
I like weird stuff.
I mean, I love that.
They
And,
reflect your personality, I think.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
and some of it's customized and some of it, I mean, I guess probably all of it's customized, but there was a VW, a double cab.
Yeah, 61 double cab. And it, that one's funny. So it looks like kind of like an El Camino bus. So they made these originally where the back, just like y'all's VW pickup that you got back here, which is still one of my favorites. The double cab was like a crew cab pickup, and then the bedsides would fold down because it was supposed to make it easier for people to load the back of these and access that space. The funny thing is, because it's a VW, it's not like it could haul that much stuff.
It could barely haul itself.
Yeah, but I was like, what a thoughtful thing.
Yeah.
We're going to take these few crates of apples or whatever they were moving.
Yeah.
With four guys.
Yeah, and we'll just put them in the back. But
It's a Freddy cab is what they call that.
it's so fun. My daughters love that one. The weird ones are always the ones that really make you smile. I've always been a huge Toyota guy, and that's, I think, largely because when like the import world kind of took off, they became like our hot rods. My dad grew up on Route 66 in New Mexico, just outside of Albuquerque. And his family, they had a wrecker service and a Napa Auto Parts, John Deere, and International Harvester all in the same little
So
spot.
you come from that stock.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like my dad was the one who at 13, there was a church bus that had flipped. So my dad bought it from the church and he got a Sawzall of the era and he cut the roof off after the B-pillar and he sold it to the guy in town that sold pine straw.
Beautiful.
And he made hundreds of dollars just cutting the roof off of this van that had flipped. So I definitely come by that side very naturally. But the funny thing is someone called me once like the redneck Jay Leno of car stuff. And I was like, I don't even think that's fair to him. Like, I just have weird stuff. I'm building, I love Tay's drift car. I'm building a Toyota pickup that is a drift truck that I have the same engine transmission setup that he does. I hope mine's as rowdy as Tay's, but I just
it'll be a lot more polished, I'm sure.
Well, maybe, but I didn't build it. So you built yours.
You got some help.
I got friends. My friends at Cora Works built it. But yeah, I've always
have your friend's number.
Yes, you can. I've always had kind of fun stuff. I think probably my coolest I ever built, I got a car that was gifted to me by Richard Petty. It was a 53 Plymouth Suburban Wagon.
Wow.
And it had ended up at the King's shop. It sat behind there for years. And I kept trying to buy it and his price was too high. And then one day he's like, hey, you need to come get this before I do something with it. And 2 days later, my dad and I drove up there, scooped it up, and I fully restored that one. I did a show called Lost in Transmission in between seasons of Top Gear, and it was like overhauling for normal people. Like we'd fix up a cool old car if you get back on the road. So Randy and I built that one together, and it was amazing, but it also ended up so nice that you were afraid to drive it.
Can't have that.
No, it's really beautiful. It's like, and when the engine compartment, when it gleams like that, it's like,
it's a weird thing. So I've stayed away from that. And the notion, as y'all know, like your whole business is largely in the notion of patina. The reason that people will walk to my I've got a 62 step fan that I think technically it's a Grumman aluminum body. Mm-hmm. It came out of a place in Ohio called the Beaver Creek Marina. And it still has this gigantic beaver on the side. I put it on a S10 chassis, put a Chrysler SRT8 swap in there. So it's got
Is that the mid-engine one?
This one, it's up front still on this one. It's 425 horsepower in a step van. It's way too much. But it's ugly and crusty and the paint's falling off. And people would walk up to that way before they would walk up to anything that's finished. So I still think that same notion of the story, where this thing came from. My friends at Summit Racing, I built one with them. And then the guy that owned this one worked at Summit. And he was like, I saw what you did with the last one. You should build this one. I was like, okay.
In the story, the story is great. If you got a story to tell, even if this Mike would say he'd make one up about some of the things we have around here, it's the story that really backs up something and gives it depth.
Yeah.
So just kind of wrapping up on that eclectic collection of yours, I've seen a lifted short bus.
Yes.
With a push blade on the front end.
It had a flamethrower at 1.2. We built that on Top Gear. It was a short school bus, solid axle swap on 44s. I told Tay I traded that to my buddy Jeremy McGrath for 2 of his dirt bikes.
He's a freestyle motocross guy.
Yeah. He's like
I didn't know there was such a thing as a freestyle motocross.
He is the winningest AMA motorcycle rider of all time, like 7 championships. Even though they call Ricky Carmichael the GOAT, Jeremy McGrath was like the GOAT pre-GOAT.
Before they had the GOAT acronym.
Yes. Both rad guys. But
and he needed the short bus?
He did. He really wanted it. He's taking his kids to school, and I gave the 2 dirt bikes to 2 of my friends. The coolest one was Steve, that is Randy Allgood's son from Kenwood Rod Shop. I pull up to his house, and he's like, dude, you got a dirt bike. We're going to ride together. This is so awesome. And I was like, no, I didn't. This is yours. And he's like, what? I was like, no, this isn't this is yours. Merry Christmas. And he turns and walks off. Doesn't say a word. And we're all like, well, that didn't go. That didn't go like I thought. And he goes inside and he gets Racer X magazine, and he's holding it. And he's like, let me start over. Why is the motorcycle that's on the cover of this magazine in the back of your truck?
Yeah.
And I was like, Merry Christmas. And then he began to cry. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Now,
we did something.
Now I feel warm and
yeah.
fuzzy inside.
So that's great. And then my best friend Rob got the other one. So, that's sometimes you got to, as y'all know, there's a lot of parts of this life that we get to enjoy and are special to us. But if we can't share them with other people, I don't know if the first part's worth it.
Well, we're called collectors. And I said, I'm not a collector. I'm more of a assembler of stuff.
Right.
But I bought it for you.
Yeah.
And if it's not for you, then I always tell our people, it says, if you like something, take it home.
Right.
But don't sit and wait for somebody else to like it and then cry about it.
Follow-up question. Does that mean you actually made those candle holders downstairs? They say Mike's candle holders. They look almost like a sugar mold.
I did.
I'm going to buy a few of those. But I wanted to make sure that you really made them.
I made them. I'll sign
just
for you,
for
too.
me. Oh, come on.
Yeah. And I'll give you a break.
I'm so glad I drove my Tundra on this trip, because I'm going to load the back of it tomorrow morning before I leave. That's for sure.
That'll look good on the Continental.
Absolutely.
Talking about the Continental thing, what are you doing, man?
So it's kind of this fun idea we pitched last year to do a COVID safe road trip last December, because it was still such a weird time, and it turns out people, I think the greatest thing we realize right now is that we need to laugh. We need to smile. There's a lot of hurt and a lot of just sadness that's out there. So I said, let's do a road trip. Ryan and I will fly out. We'll pick up 2 cars and we'll drive them back simultaneously. That way it's COVID safe. Even though I'm gonna see you at lunch.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
We got that's up here.
You're not wrong, but and we had a great time. And so then when we were talking to Continental about what kind of fun stuff, I've been with them for probably 5 years, and Ryan does a podcast called Dinner with Racers where he'll go and he'll sit down with either retired or active racers and gets these amazing stories from so many people. But we thought, let's just go do this kind of fun trip. So this year, when we were looking at it, I said, let's run the Blue Ridge Parkway. And that's what we've been doing. It's so beautiful to get to see it. I wish we could have done it closer to when the leaves were changing. Right. But since I do have like 7 jobs, I have to fit them in where you can.
You know, if you get a ticket on the Blue Ridge Parkway, it's a federal offense.
I was not aware of that.
I am intimately.
I bet you are.
You make the check out to the Treasury.
If you drink underage on the Blue Ridge Parkway, you'll get a federal offense as well. I'm just not going to say.
You knew a guy, huh? Yeah. Wow.
I knew a few girls actually.
Yeah.
We were by Little Switzerland, and there's a great tunnel down there, and I did some. I don't want to call them smoky burnouts. I rapidly accelerated.
Spirited driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it sounded so good, but someone's like, hey, this is federal property. And I was like, so we should go.
Yeah.
All right. Good note.
Makes it feel even better.
Note to self.
But yeah, so thank you for, Tay, you helped line all of this up. We got to stay at the Stone House, which if people, I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you love these 3 guys as much as I do. The Stone House, I got to see it in 2017 when it was still being completed. It is so cool. It's such a beautiful celebration of what y'all have done, what you've accomplished. And so many of the shows are integrated so beautifully in that property. But it just, again, tells a great story. Roanoke is a beautiful town that I would have never seen without you guys. So thank you. What a great time.
Say that again for the city.
Make sure we get a little clip of that.
The tourism department.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the amount of people that y'all bring to this area is phenomenal.
Yeah,
just like today, walking through the parking lot, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, there's people coming from all over the country.
God bless them all.
And how many places did y'all go to around the area, downtown, that again, not only preserve the history of Roanoke, but it tells a story in this amazing way?
Well, you went to one last night.
Yes.
Jack Brown's.
Had a great time.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you need lunch, you probably already ate before you got there, but the burgers are fantastic.
I could tell when I saw what kind of buns they use, Martin's buns.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
potato
like,
roll.
Oh, man.
It doesn't get better than
this
that.
place is legit.
Yeah.
I was going to tell the guy nice buns, but his beard was so long, I don't know if he would have gotten the joke.
I think
he would have been, it would have been a whole different.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Come on over.
A healthy collection of beers as well.
Absolutely.
So that never hurts. Never hurts.
I'm not a beer drinker, and I almost got in trouble there last night, but I tried a cider. Lovely people.
Yeah.
Visit Roanoke.com.
Yeah. Our next brand ambassador for Roanoke is Rutledge Wood.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I've been really lucky to get to work with a lot of great companies, as y'all have too. And I think that big thing is if you can make your enthusiasm come across or something in a genuine way, then it's going to be great. Y'all also know it means we have to say no to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I can't do a compelling toothpaste ad. Doesn't mean I don't want to. I want my kids to go to college or trade school, like whatever my girls want to do. So I've done a toothbrush ad before, but I haven't found the right toothpaste.
Yeah. It's whatever your jam is, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You be you.
That's it. That's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
Can't do anything else.
Well, we're going to take a break, speaking of which. But when we come back, more with Rutledge, and I think he's got a top tip for us.
You know I do.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Be right back.
We've talked about how we built our company on Chevy trucks. Those are pickups we've had ever since I met Mike. Mike pulled up in a 91 Chevy. When he decided he wanted to have his own truck, we bought a used 96.
Right.
What we call a Freddy cab.
That was Big Red.
Yeah. That had a full crew cab, which was mighty nice.
Yeah.
And a full 8-foot bed. That was a lot of truck.
That is a lot of truck. Dually, too.
We bought that from Dentist. And I guess they had been hauling horses with it or something, but it just turned into the key machine.
Well, there's a deeper story here with the dentist with the horses, but again,
isn't that true?
I don't know. It sounds right.
Was he a horse dentist? It doesn't matter.
He was a horse dentist. Yeah.
That is not true.
But he used the Chevy.
It's all about the story.
It's all about the Chevrolet, people.
Yeah.
And that 96, it was with Black Dog for a long, long while. I didn't think we lost her till about 2016.
Yeah, Tay was driving it back from West Virginia. We were doing a job there, and you were going back for a test.
Yeah.
And she gave up the ghost there somewhere near Summersville, West Virginia.
Blew it up, but that wasn't the truck's fault.
Yeah, and how many? 200,000 miles, over 200,000 miles, easy.
Yeah.
And we thought that was the end, but Mike, you remember Buddha Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He rebuilt it.
He rebuilt it. She's still on the road today.
And also on that truck, we took the back end off of it, or Mike did, because he was going to put another bed on it, and you made a bench out of it, remember?
Oh,
yeah, I
right.
do.
Yeah, so we upcycle. It's like, it's like eating your young. Hey, he's gone, and I'm hungry.
Yeah. That's not the end of the story, because we've had a 2016 beautiful crew cab truck, big one, and also working a 2020 or 2019 right now as well. That high country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
That's top shelf right there, man.
Can't beat it.
Chevy trucks, Black Dog Salvage, a beautiful combination.
Yes, indeed.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Black Dog Salvage Podcast. Of course, we're sitting here with the one and only Rutledge Wood.
Hi,
who's
guys.
in town from the road trip of all road trips, Continental.
Right.
And
Cruise in the continental U.S.
that's it. That's a good branding.
Thank you. I
Really
came up
is.
with that.
Did you really?
I did.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm good for a couple of things.
Yeah.
But among other things, you're known for your car projects, working on cars.
Sure.
I think some of which you use your own two hands on.
Absolutely.
Quite a few, probably.
Absolutely. I don't have the fab skills that you do. Don't have the shop or the time to really make it happen. But there's a ton of stuff that I do work on and little things that you pick up over the years. Like, the Ajax and 3M scrubbing pad is a great way to wash a little bit of the years of damage off of something, but not paint.
Is this your top tip?
No, but it's
a good
adjacent.
one.
Here's what I'll do.
It's an adjacent top tip.
Yeah, I'll let
How
you
about
try to
that?
guess. So I grew up in Birmingham, but I've been in Atlanta since I was 15. And when you think of Atlanta, does anything jump out at you?
ATL, Outcast.
Outcast, great.
Yeah.
Fellas, anything?
Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Anything, Robert?
Thinking rhythm section.
Oh, man. So jazzy. So jazzy, this guy.
We're learning a lot about Robert on this cast.
Absolutely. I love this. What a great, you're really unpacking a lot of stuff. I was going to say Atlanta, a lot of people think of Coca-Cola.
Oh,
Which is my maker's tip, if you will. So you can use Coke for a lot of really creative things. It's also an incredibly potent cleaner. So let's say you've got a battery in your car and you can tell there's a little bit of corrosion. You can pour a little bit of Coke on there, leave it, and then come back, brush it clean. Looks great. But also you can use Coke and steel wool together to not only get a cool texture to some stuff, but also it's either a patina builder or you can knock off a layer of patina. And have you ever tried that?
I haven't tried it. But I did see the Mythbusters try that. That was an actual myth they tested, was can you polish chrome with steel wool and Coca-Cola? And the answer is a resounding yes.
Absolutely.
Which makes you really think about what you're putting in your body when you drink.
How resilient your stomach is.
Notice they don't use Dr. Pepper because that stuff we eat right off.
Yeah.
We shot Top Gear down to Mexico, and I was nervous about where we were going to some pretty off the beaten path. We weren't going like a cool resort town. Where we were going, I was just a little bit, I had not been to Mexico yet. We went through Tijuana. And so the whole time I kept telling him, my call sign was, I'm going to get sick. I don't have the strongest stomach in the world. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like every roadside thing we eat, I'm going to get sick. And I decided I would just drink Coke at every meal because if it'll eat acid off the battery or take, old oxidation off a chrome bumper, I'll be fine. I didn't get sick at all.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Coca-Cola.
Time of my life. I love that stuff.
And just to clarify the top tip, we're talking about real Coke. We're not talking about Diet Coke. We're not talking about
not Coke Zero.
No.
Now, if you have the Mexican Coke, drink that. That's fantastic. That's real sugar.
Glass
it is.
bottle.
Oh boy.
What cartel brings that stuff in?
Costco.
Yeah, Kroger.
The biggest cartel in the world.
That's right.
Big
Costco.
grocery.
But yeah, I've found a lot of stuff like that because for my step van, I just bought 2 57 Chevy bumpers. And what we did was we're trying to figure out, I needed something, there's a word for what those kind of,
Boobies.
they look like boobs. Thank you. I was trying to figure out, how do we say a 57 Chevy has this cool ornamental, looks like a Madonna when she wore that metal bra. So it looks like that. And we were trying to figure out, how do we make all this work? Well, we had to chop the center section, move it around to the edges. And then we used the other bumper to kind of center fill that. And we used some edges. We had to cut part of the buckets, but we ended up using Coke and steel wool to try to sort of blend it all visually together. And it worked great.
Yeah.
So Try
So
it.
why don't they sell Coke on at the
hardware store? They do.
yeah.
It's usually just in a cooler, Mike. It's right up by the checkout counter. It's near the gum and the candy bars.
Yeah. See, they didn't let me. See, of course, I drank Coke when I was growing up. The little 8-ounce bottles.
Oh, the green glass bottles.
The best.
Yeah.
It tastes different. I don't know what it is, but my grandmother had a florist shop, and there was always those little bottles in there. We would
That's
sneak
so
in there and
cool.
just drink 5 of them.
Is there some reason we don't just rebottle this stuff and call it,
Black
Dog
Dogs.
Salvage patina?
Well, you should.
Patiner?
My friend Killer Mike helped 2 groups in Atlanta, the Bloods and the Crips, make their own sodas on his show Trigger Warning, the Cripicola and Blood Pop. I think there's something here that you guys can make your own soda.
Well, I think we
add
could
it to
do it
the
in
line.
conjunction with a Rutledge
Oh my
Dog
gosh, I would
combo.
love it. Especially if we're able to use the Black Dog bourbon that I was so lucky to sample.
Yeah.
We don't know how that polishes chrome yet. Try
We can
that.
find out.
Didn't matter.
Sure give it a try tonight.
You drink enough of it, it looks perfect.
Take a couple shots and it all looks good.
You know, this bumper looks fine.
Yeah.
It looks great just the way it is.
You sound like
touch it at all.
Will Ferrell's impression of Harry Carey.
Hey, if you were starving,
You're
would you eat yourself?
You're a hot dog.
I know I would.
I'd go back for seconds. Yeah. I have a random question, actually.
Please.
Speaking of your knowledge base, what's your most obscure fact about anything? Like, do you have like
Ooh.
a go-to
yeah.
Oh,
fun?
that's okay. Well, so I think my most obscure fact is that the first race that was held at Indianapolis Motor Speedway was not a car race; it was a balloon race.
Like hot air balloon?
Hot air balloon.
That is obscure.
Around, they tried to stick to the
You know, they just launched them there.
Yeah.
What a weird thing.
brickyard.
I've got a few bricks. I dug them out of a creek.
Isn't it gone
It's
now?
right there.
Yeah.
Great. They pulled the bricks up. Tracks there.
They
Crazy.
kept a strip of the brick. didn't
Yeah.
they?
Brickyard.
I like an obscure fact that Mark Bogue told us, which is, did you know that birds only have one hole?
I beg your pardon.
Yes. It's one hole. That's it. They're one holers.
To do everything out of the
Everything
same
through
hole.
one hole.
But that's not true.
It doesn't have to be true.
Well, I'm not going to
Oh,
go.
that is right. It does not have to be true.
I am not going to verify that.
I got a question following up on that question
Oh,
Okay.
great.
because that's one of your favorite questions is the obscure question. And I
Yeah.
want to find out what the most obscure answer to your obscurity question you ever got.
I've asked some weird ones. I mean, I try to, anytime I sit down, especially like with NASCAR drivers, you try to ask them some stuff that other people don't ask them. But you also find out they'll sometimes tell you like, yeah, I got arrested one time, and then you can't use any of it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting thing. I also, my favorite question ever to ask any person, and it's one question, but you can ask it different ways, is what's your deal? So I'll give you an example. Tay, what's your deal?
Been trying to figure that out for a while.
Now to Mike. Mike, what's your deal?
My deal is dipping my feet in the salt water on a beach and whatever it takes to get there. That's
Okay,
my
see,
deal.
little different tone. And then finally, Robert, what's your deal? Same question.
Right.
It makes people feel very different.
Let me answer that
Yeah,
question.
please.
We don't have that much time.
No, it's not. How many episodes is this podcast?
That became I hate small talk at like dinner parties and stuff. So that became not that exactly, but I'd be like, what's your story? You know?
Oh,
Just-
it's such a great.
Same way.
how about, in other words, let's get you to talk about you for a little while.
Yes.
I usually, find that there's so many people out there that want to talk about them that it's really not a problem. I
Yeah.
don't even need to ask.
Well, the weird thing is, how many times people will ask you guys about the show, and you're like, I literally just need to get this half and half and get back to the house. But I'm gonna stand here,
Yep.
and we're gonna finish this whole thing. And you just smile the whole time. You're like, you know what? What a great problem to have.
Well, exactly.
But also, this
them-
cake is gonna freeze soon.
Yeah.
We're in the parking lot. Let's wrap it up.
I don't know if I told this story on the podcast yet, but the only real time I've had an in public fan encounter, I was like, I had a Tuesday off and I was shopping at Kroger at like 10 a.m. and I was walking my normal route. We all have a route
Oh, sure.
by the eggs and such. And this woman from probably 20 feet away goes, "Your dad lets you go shopping all by yourself?" And I'm probably, I slept late. I'm not ready to talk to people yet. And
Right.
that just hit me. And I was like, now I said this and I'm not super proud of
He
it. But
changed his route.
But I go, yeah, I don't go back there anymore.
Did you say what's your deal?
I should have.
No,
No, I said, I kind of snapped a little and I said, yeah, can you believe that? I'm my own person. And I kept going. And I was like, I'm not proud of that.
Wrong.
I'm not proud of that. But then she came up afterward. I think she realized that I was like, that's not how you start a conversation.
Right.
And she goes, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of the show and stuff. And in my head, I'm like, just lead with that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but, it's a reaction. They're shocked. They see someone that they've watched on TV. They put you on this pedestal
right.
that you don't really belong on.
Or they put you over someplace.
Right.
I don't know about pedestal.
A thing.
Right?
Well, they put me on a pedestal.
And so this is, of course, I've analyzed this for years now. And now I'm like, how should I have handled that? Because you've had a far more practice.
Oh,
at this.
I've got some weird ones.
Yeah.
Like my favorite, I think, was, see, honey, I told you he wasn't as fat in person. And I looked back, I was like, sir, there's a compliment in there somewhere.
And I'm right here.
I appreciate that. I mean, just there's some, boy, your head's even bigger. Like, there's just a million of them where you're like, yeah. Well,
I'm a lot taller in person.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, they say the same thing to us. And I said, well, we're standing beside Tay, who's 6'7".
Right.
So we're all small.
But we're all not short either.
Absolutely. Ryan said he felt short around you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, when we come back, can we talk about one of my favorite episodes?
Yes. Well, that's the plan. Why don't you lead us out?
Tell you what, when we come back, our friend Rutledge Wood's going to tell us about one of his favorite episodes of 143 that he says he loves. Wow, what a perfect.
Be right back.
I didn't write it down. I would have done better.
Yeah, no, it was.
You forgot hit TV show, Salvage Dawgs.
Hit TV show.
Mountain Khakis guys are well, they're supporters of the show.
Yeah.
And they make incredible clothing. Workwear, casual wear. It's durable, first off, for those that do the work that we do. It's lightweight, though, super comfortable. They have well-placed pockets that you've always pointed out.
What? When I was riding my motorcycle, which I don't do much anymore, it was very important to have a pocket that would hold the cell phone, but not open it to the road.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
point.
You don't want anything to open to the road.
And
that's why I don't ride motorcycles.
Well, that's
I'm open to the road.
You can now, though, because you have Mountain Khakis.
So you're exposed. Mountain Khaki guys, don't go home without them.
Or out.
Yeah, welcome back, guys. Today we're talking about our favorite episode of Salvage Dawgs, and this is one of our favorites. And this one is Rut's picked this one out for us. It's episode 1106. We're nearing the end of our run, and we go to New Jersey,
Orange, New Jersey.
Lovely, lovely town.
Yeah, it's a huge mansion that is going to get a major remodel, and we call it the G Mansion. And
yeah.
It was, for the record, this was a huge deal for me to not only be invited for the podcast, but then be burdened to pick one of my favorites. It's really difficult. And I don't know if y'all can't imagine what that's like, but this was one I just really enjoyed because it was so obscure. This house from the outside looked beautiful, and you went inside and a lot of great structure to it, it seemed like. But I think in this show, you said in 1997, it had gone through we'll call it a remodel. I don't know if that's the right word.
One term for it.
Remodel. We call that a remodel.
It had been jazzed up. But the stuff they used was so nasty, and gaudy was the word they all use constantly. But it was just like, how many gold swan ornaments could you use in a bathroom?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all of them.
So this house was built probably turn of the century, 1900. Huge mansion. I mean, it's a big structure, big stone exterior.
Like 3,500 square feet or something.
It was more than that.
Huge,
it was more than this 8,000, 10,000 range. Because a little secret is that it was actually 3 stories. The television show described it as a 2-story house. It's actually 3 stories. And when we salvage something, we salvage it.
Right.
And the TV guy said, we only got time for 2 floors. So we went in it early and took care of the top floor and salvaged out.
And that's where the servants live.
That's right. But it was really nice stuff. And it had not been G'd on the top floor. So although it was plain stuff, it was good stuff. It was meat and potatoes, doors, nice glass doorknobs, and hardware and all that stuff. So that was great. This was built by a gentleman named King. And he was probably the great-grandfather of a governor of New Jersey, I think is how it turned out. And whoever was buying it this time around, had bought it this time around, really trying to create another house completely.
Sure.
But real estate zoning laws and neighbors can make things a little bit difficult. And I think this house was eventually going to be torn down underneath, and then a new house rebuilt, which is a shame because the house itself, like you said, had some really good bones.
Sure. I mean, the door structures, it's like a semicircle. I don't know what the right word.
Arch.
Arch. Like that stuff, having to see how massive those were and they would come out. But watching you try to take apart what turned out to be those huge pocket doors.
Oh,
like those things were amazing.
Yeah.
They were huge.
Yeah. I always have to break a little glass before I.
Sure.
You broke every one.
No, I didn't.
One on every one.
I put my foot through the bottom of every one, pretty much. But they were huge. They were like 12 foot tall. And we didn't know I thought they were doors, hinge doors.
Right.
And then these guys were pocket doors. It was amazing.
Arched pocket doors.
Yeah. Well, the doors themselves were straight, but
they were hidden.
They were hidden behind the arch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this was an indoor-outdoor room in a 1900s house. So they would open this whole thing up and it had this huge, beautiful fireplace in there that you could all literally walk in. And somebody had, in the 1990s, this whole place, as you said, had been gilded and remodeled. And they had turned this thing into this kitchen and sealed all the doors shut. And it's a shame because you can imagine this thing as it originally was. There was an added floor to it and all this stuff, but it was monumental. And it was someplace that I'd love to have right now. If you're building a house, it would be, I'd love to have an indoor-outdoor room.
Because, I mean, those people would have been complete ballers of that era. To have a space like that would have just been so over the top and amazing. And then they just came in and glued crap on top of everything.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a swimming pool? Big pool out back.
There was a pool out back. There was, they literally glued over tile, this beautiful terracotta tile on the fireplaces, and they just slapped. And I don't have anything against big box stores.
Sure.
I shop there every day and spend a huge amount of money for my construction company. But they were covering gold with dirt,
right?
Basically, what they were doing, and it was a shame.
You know, and one room in that house was left original, which was I guess it was the dining room, maybe, or the den, the one that
the center room, the oak one that Tay took apart with Pat.
Yeah,
that was in Grayson. That was a tough one.
Yeah,
we got a man lift in the house. I think we forklifted it through the front door. We had to disassemble part of it, I think, through the door. Yeah. And then all this, it was like tiger oak, beautiful.
Ceilings everywhere.
Domed. It wasn't just an arch. It was like a half dome entryway with these side lights, alcoves.
Yeah, and pocket doors. And I've never been so proud of the way they took that thing out. And just while I was thinking on one fireplace, they took this whole room apart and clean. And beautiful.
Yeah. Understanding that I wasn't involved either.
Right. You were putting your foot through the doors. Y'all used that lift to get all of that stuff.
Pull it up and move it.
Brilliant.
That was the education that I got, was Dad's method, Robert's method, and how to blend them
into something successful,
or decide which one to use and where. There is a time for foot through something.
Yeah,
and as you say, go Sawzall early.
That's always my thing,
or the tiny tink, miners
tiny little tools.
Yeah,
it was cool to watch. There were a couple shows where there would be such beautiful stained glass in this incredibly difficult place to reach, and then watching you try to delicately remove it, and then at some point you're like, they never thought anyone would get this sucker back out, and they sure put it in like that.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to,
right?
Only thing that's supposed to take it out is God and tornadoes.
That's it.
The joke we said sometimes is that they got paid by the nail.
Yeah. You can tell what day it was built. It was either on Thursday or Friday. Friday was, we're going to put a lot of nails in this and get the heck out.
Yeah.
And that was a detriment, because you didn't know that would kill things.
Right.
It really would.
For a house like this one in Jersey, have y'all ever seen pictures of that one? Was particularly interesting because, like you said, they basically were going to keep the roof and rebuild everything around there. But have you seen what a place like that looks like after you had left?
I went by a couple months later, and it was still the same. They hadn't taken the stone down yet, but it'd be interesting to.
Most of the time when we leave someplace and you come back a couple months later, she gone.
Yeah, just completely.
Yeah, this was a little bit different.
There has been a church we did in North Carolina years and years and years ago. Remember that?
Yeah, that was Salisbury,
North Carolina,
and they weren't allowed to take the.
Wouldn't fit out the front doors. That's just one of those.
That was iconic.
Measure twice kind of things.
Yeah.
And but that one ended up not being torn down, and at some point later, some people called us back and said, "Hey, can we have our windows back?"
I got one.
Right.
Absolutely.
When I said, come get it. We gave it back to them.
Good for you.
Yeah. Most of the end game of all this stuff is, the whole reason that I ever got into this business was intercept this stuff on its way to the landfill, which is just a crime. The quality of stuff that ends up going to the landfill.
Absolutely.
And, we've made a 0.00095 effort at it, and it was Herculean just to get there.
Sure.
For what we've done, and we're proud of that.
It has also spread like wildfire. Like you guys showed people that in all these small towns where there's beautiful houses that are coming down or falling apart, there's still value, there's beauty, and it really, I think it changed for so many towns what that marketplace looked like for some of this stuff.
And understanding that there's people been doing this for a long time, and there's piles of it everywhere, and it's, go find the local salvage company. It might be called something else,
right?
Bob's Antique and stuff, and find those treasures because they have been pulled and they're laying 3 layers deep under a bunch of dirt and some other stuff, in a place like that. So, but it was kind of nice too on these things. We always look for the aftermarket use of all this stuff. Now, if it's not going to be a door, it can be something else. And that one big arch, double door arch,
we ended up the oak one that you were talking about that Tay took out.
Yeah, we ended up, one of our craftsmen ended up turning it into a bar.
A back bar.
A back bar and front bar, because he used the doors as the wainscot paneling. It was amazing. It really turned out well. So if it can't be used for its intended purposes, and channel your creative and figure it out. This can be something else, and then go for it.
And you made the Keg Bar Stools on that show too.
That also happened this episode. Yeah,
I love those.
What did that smell like, Tay, when you cut that thing open?
Not good. Yeah, an old keg is not good.
No, it's
aluminum. No, it's stainless steel.
Yeah,
stainless steel.
But it holds on to a funk like you can't believe.
They are quote unquote sealed, but there's something gets in there.
It's like a fraternity house floor. It's
sticky.
It's
something
disappointing. Yeah.
See, I'm blessed with not smelling.
You are hard to smell.
If you're going to lose a scent, that's the one.
Yeah.
You can't smell that beautiful bouquet, but you can't smell that bottom of that keg either.
Or sometimes the smell you generate.
And that is a little bit more of a problem.
Well done.
We just won't go
I'm
there.
sorry.
That's
sorry.
okay. It's all right.
Well
I'm 65
done.
years old. Things happen.
Yeah, we took a keg or multiple kegs and turned them into bar stools of all things, which sounds like you could just put a cushion on it and sit on it. There's your bar stool.
A little bit more complicated.
But we did a 4-legged tripod type base out of some square, 3/4 square bar and a collar in the middle, and then did I think it was a spalted maple top.
What did it weigh in at?
We still have one, by the way.
What did it weigh in as?
They were probably 150 pounds.
This is one of these prototyping efforts are sometimes a little bit limiting by sheer weight.
Well, we have some failures and we have some success.
We always said, I think the next job's going to be in a styrofoam factory because everything is so heavy.
I can't believe that someone would have taken one or two of them but left the other.
It's just one left.
Mystery.
I think. Could be yours.
Could be.
We look real good in the back of that Tundra.
I brought my truck. Why not?
One and done. Yeah, we'll sign it.
Yeah, it's true. That and the Arby's sign. I've really got something going here.
Oh, yeah. That Arby's sign is on its way to you already.
Can't wait. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but
you'll have the meats. Yeah.
We'll have the meats. Boy, if you think my neighbors like all my weird stuff now, light up the neighborhood with an Arby's sign.
Yeah. Let's be honest, they're not going to be that surprised.
No.
Yeah.
I think we also have a 1/3 scale Eiffel Tower that you could use too.
Who wouldn't want that?
A lot of people evidently.
Well, anything else happen weird in that episode? I'm trying to remember.
Found a gun in a.
Oh yeah, the gun. I want to ask y'all. Did y'all find? Obviously, when you're going through walls, you find a lot of cool things that people tucked in there. Had you found a lot of guns? I know that one was you thought maybe an airsoft gun or something, but
the real mystery was obviously I thought it was a real gun when I first saw it. It looked real. The real mystery is how it found itself there because
behind the mantle.
This was in the chimney. So the only way, and this is a big house. So somebody must have dropped it down the roof, or maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody was playing some serious airsoft for it's clinging onto the chimney or something. But different things we found, sometimes.
Robert, logistically speaking, do you think someone's played airsoft on a roof before?
I'm looking.
Oh, see,
come on,
I have.
Yeah,
I used to play airsoft with some guys that had an abandoned house on their property, and we did all kinds of like.
You know what? I retract my statement.
Thank you.
Here I was feeling a little judgy, thinking I don't know about your story, Robert.
You sit corrected.
Yeah, I sit corrected.
I appreciate you being open to.
Because I liked it. I'm just thinking on the roof, would I really be? But
now that roof,
me wrong.
That's a big roof.
Again, 3 stories.
And I think the chimneys were, 15 feet higher than that. There's no other explanation that I can figure out.
And it wasn't that old of a gun.
No.
I think it was aliens.
Yep. I believe, Mike, I'd believe that before I'd play airsoft on a third story, but
I'm going with aliens.
I've done a lot of dumb stuff. I just wouldn't do that.
We've also found some worthless postage stamps.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That we thought were a ticket out.
Yeah.
Were worth.
Well, everybody asking, did you ever find gold or anything like that? I said, if we ever found gold, you would never see us again.
Right.
And we were just like, boom, abducted by aliens.
Speaking of which, did you hear where just recently, I think it was at, what's his name, Joel Osteen?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Some mega church down in, I think they're in Texas or something. But a plumber was working in repairing a toilet with probably had the guts in the wall or something, found like $500,000 or something in envelopes inside the wall. And it kind of dates back to a robbery or some missing funds from 15, 20 years ago. And
no way.
Yeah. And he was trolling. He was like, where's my reward? But he ended up, they gave him $20,000 reward for this. That was just recently.
That's what the bill was.
He needed more money. Yeah.
And I also just I'm doing some work for one of my clients, and they were building a house in Jacksonville, and they were just moving in, and there was this noise in the wall.
Oh boy.
That's not good.
Cat.
Aliens.
Alien cat.
The contractors or the drywall guys had walled up a cat in a wall. The cat was still alive. And this is, 3-4 weeks later.
Oh,
it's the worst thing I ever heard.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Did they save it?
So let's end the show right
as
now.
Far as you know.
Did they save it? Did they save it?
Of course they did.
Okay.
Of course.
Right.
Why would he tell a story with a terrible ending to end the podcast? Of course. Everyone's great. They named the cat drywall.
Yeah.
Now, cat plaster.
Insulation. We call it insulation.
Well, now knowing that the cat's alive.
Speaking of bad smells.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I want to end on a high note. The cat's alive and very happy.
Yes.
On that note, Rutledge, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Super fun to talk about all this stuff. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Let's talk about good tools.
Ooh.
Good tools. I'm talking about dependable tools, ones that do the job they're intended for.
You must be talking about Milwaukee.
I'm talking about Milwaukee tools.
Yeah. I love their beer.
Yeah, everybody does. Before I was in the salvage business, I had a construction company. I still do. And the first tool I ever bought when I started that construction company when I moved back to Roanoke was a Milwaukee Sawzall. This was a corded model. I still have it, and it's a metal case.
Of course you do.
I believe it's torn up some things, and it's made me some money.
Yeah.
And I appreciate every time I open that thing and it's still running. It's tethered, unlike the M18 stuff they have now, but man, it's a good tool.
There's nothing like being tethered, man. I love electricity.
That's exactly right. Power forever.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, bottom line is they started one company and they've supported our Black Dog Salvage company all these years. We appreciate the quality of the tools and the job that they do. Milwaukee tools are great.
Your Speedway air balloon race is awesome.
Yeah. One-legged duck always swims in a circle.
It only has one hole, by the way.
Humans walk in a circle with the blindfolded. They can't walk a straight line. They end up walking in a circle.
No way.
Yep.
Is it predicated on if you're a left hand or right hand
One
person?
foot's bigger than the other.
I didn't
Good
don't know the
follow-up,
answer to
Mike.
that.
That's a yes and. Yeah.
And speaking of obscure facts, do you know who invented Lincoln Logs?
Hey,
Frank Lloyd Wright's son.
Really?
No kidding.
I love Lincoln Logs.
I love Lincoln Logs too.
All right, let's make some magic.
It'd be a shame if it was a
panic these guys anymore.
Well, huge thanks to our guest, Rutledge Woods. Thank you so much for visiting Black Dog on your trip through the continental U.S.,
Thank
but for
you.
doing the podcast. It's just been so good to hang out with you.
What a treat.
Yeah.
I hope that people know I'm happy to vouch and say you guys are just as charming and delightful as you were on the show. But if anyone's
Here's
ever...
your 20, by the way.
yeah,
Thank you for
I
that.
obviously got the check from my mom.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, by the way. If anyone's ever been on the fence about whether they should come and visit, let me be the person that pushes you over and says, yes, you've got to come. It's just such a cool a place to come see really the art that exists in this family. 2 friends that came together to start a business. The Stone House next door is unbelievable. There's so many cool things in there, like I mentioned before, that pay homage to the show and what you guys do. But also they need to come see your new spot down the street, Tay, and just what you're doing there is unbelievable. So
Metal Fab. You need something cool built, call me, call Black Dog. Someone's going to figure it out. If you can't come in person, you can visit us online, find out more about all the stories you've heard, connect with us further at blackdogsalvage.com.
Hey, and also you can sign up for our newsletter to hear everything that our guests are doing and what we're doing here at Black Dog.
Yeah, and finally, if you like what you've heard, please share, like, and rate our show wherever you get your podcast, as those shares and likes really make a difference.
They sure do. Well, fellas, Rutledge, thank you.
I had a great time.
It was a blast having you, man.
Thanks, boys.
See you guys next time.
See you.
Adios.